Here's Brody Brazil.
What I'm about to address in this video is a talking point, a conversation piece. It's something I've heard multiple times, multiple different places, and I'm not here to endorse it at all. I'm not also here to say that it's totally impossible, but it's the question of, could the Sacramento River Cats either temporarily or permanently relocate, basically switch places with the A's and come to Oakland? Maybe play at the Coliseum, maybe do something else. But could we see an ultimate flip-flop of a AAA team and a Major League Baseball team in Northern California? And so I'm going to try and dive through this methodically. I've got a bunch of points here. We're going to spend a little bit of time on each slide. And so I'll go thought by thought. And again, this is not to lead you to believe that this is possible or impossible, but I want to kind of clear the picture a little bit so we understand here even what we're talking about. Maybe by the end, you'll have a better opinion on this. First thing is this. 2 is a crowd up in Sacramento right now. 2 teams about to share multiple full seasons at a minor league baseball stadium is unprecedented, and we don't yet know fully how this will all go and shake out. I think that's a fair comment and statement and assessment, and that's why this conversation begins. What are the River Cats going to do? You know, if Sacramento and Sacramentans were given a choice, which one do you want to keep? A Major League team or the AAA team? They're going to tell the River Cats, hey, thanks, we love you for all these years, but we're going to send you packing. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how sharing the stadium's going to go. I don't know what baseball's going to find out. If 2 teams works, if it would be easier to displace one of the teams for a couple years. They're going to try it in 2025, but I do think it's a fair statement, and this is where the conversation starts. We don't know how this is going to go. You can plan it all day, but you don't know how this is actually going to go. There's also a large belief, I think, based on track record, based on the last couple months, the last couple years, that the A's might actually end up making Sacramento their permanent home. Now, for Sacramentans, again, maybe this is more of a hope than reality. Maybe they see this as a slim chance, but any possibility that they can try and attempt, they'll want to see this happen if it can. But there's a lot of people who think that maybe the A's will end up staying in Sacramento. And whether the Las Vegas thing shakes out or not, or there's some other complications, or an ownership group presents itself in Sacramento to be part of the team and to kind of entrench it in the community up there, keep it while it's up there. Again, I'm not here to say yes or no to that, but a lot of people believe that this is the case, and this would be one of the reasons why the River Cats might be on the way out if, in fact, the A's could actually latch on. Because let's be honest, this is another part of the equation. If the A's were to actually stay in Sacramento on a long-term basis, there's no way you'd have a AAA team and a Major League team in Sacramento, just from a logistical or a business standpoint. But here's a question. I mean, in terms of the A's staying in Sacramento, there's a couple things. The stadium is one, and we'll get to that. But Major League Baseball, at the end of 2023 in November, they voted to approve the A's move to Las Vegas and nowhere else. And Sacramento's fine because it's understood right now that's temporary. But if it was an ultimate stay in Sacramento situation, wouldn't Major League Baseball have to vote on this as well? That would seem odd and awkward that if over time the A's were approved to move to Las Vegas, never did, just landed and stayed in Sacramento, there would have to be a revisit of some type of vote or approval. Now, I'm not here to say that that vote would be turned down at all, because if everything is lined up and in place, how could all the other owners say no? And if it makes sense and it's logistical and they like it, of course, they'll unanimously vote for anything, up or down, doesn't matter. But I do think the point has to be made. There would have to be some ultimate baseball approval for Sacramento and the plans and a new stadium and all that by Major League Baseball. And yes, a stadium is still required in Sacramento. This is not a case where there's a Major League turnkey ready-to-go facility for both teams right now. This is a 25-year-old minor league ballpark, which is getting some bare necessity upgrades just to be playable at Major League standards. But if the A's actually did stay in Sacramento, where would the new stadium go? And more importantly, who exactly is going to pay for it? A lot of people have pointed out the parking lot just south of Sutter Health Park, but the problem is there's now a residential complex close to Sacramento River, and I don't know if the shape of that land is enough, and I do think that the River Cats are in control of that land, so maybe it's more easily accessible. It's also in West Sacramento. Now you've got the soccer team building a new stadium at the Rail Yards location. I know Cal Expo's a site, but do you really want to put a ballpark there? A lot of questions. And location is one part of it, but more importantly, will baseball and would a baseball team like the A's be able to generate some public subsidies for a stadium? Because that's how baseball likes to do it. I'm not saying that's the right way or the fair way, but I don't know if Sacramento is in a spot for that. $500 million or whatever it takes to play into a Major League Baseball stadium. Okay, so let's move on to another thought here. Displacing the River Cats. Now, this is either permanently or temporarily because, again, this is such a fluid situation. Are we talking about the River Cats coming to Oakland for 2 years, like 26 and 27, maybe 26, 7, and 8, or permanently? I'm not sure of that. This is kind of a video and a thought process to encompass the entire thing here, but either permanently or temporarily, would the River Cats actually displace themselves? Or maybe they'd get bought out in this situation. They'd get enough money to say, hey, this is worth it for us to go down 80 and make Oakland a new home. But would they do that to make room for a Major League Baseball team? They've worked so hard to entrench themselves in that community. And they're owned by Vivek Ranadive, owner of the Kings, who also controls Sutter Health Park as a stadium. Would they step aside to make room for a baseball team, a Major League Baseball team? I'm not sure whether they would do that so easily. But I also understand for the River Cats, maybe as a business, there might be some intrigue of Oakland. You've got a market that once had connections to the River Cats. They were the long-time, very successful AAA affiliate of the Oakland A's in Sacramento for a lot of years. Oakland has a vacant facility, which is ready to go right now, and I don't think you permanently want to land at the Coliseum for the long term. That's not a possibility. But it's also a market that is huge. It's the Bay Area. It's hungry to support a professional baseball team, and maybe they feel like they could capitalize on a market that is still interested and hungry for baseball and hungry for their own thing, and maybe they're trying to gain some inroads there. But wait a second. Let's switch gears to this, and you can kind of see why I've done this video this way, because there's a lot of different thoughts and moving parts and pieces here. How about the San Francisco Giants perspective? Now, the Giants might like the proximity of their AAA team being, 10 miles away across the bridge as the crow flies? 7 miles, I think it actually is, between Oracle and the Coliseum. They might like that proximity from a term of convenience, but maybe that's way too close as a competitive option to attend professional baseball games. What do I mean by that? You want the River Cats close, like in Sacramento, but you don't want them in your backyard to the point where people are saying, should I go to a Giants game tonight or should I go to a River Cats game next weekend? That's too close. And I know the Giants have the San Jose Giants of single-A baseball, but it's been a long-standing thing. San Jose is a much greater distance away from San Francisco than Oakland is, and it's also single-A baseball, not triple-A baseball. So my point is, the Giants would probably have some say in this. I don't know that they want their AAA team to be that close to them geographically. Oh yeah, there's also a huge rent problem for the Coliseum and the River Cats. Again, they own, through Vivek Ranadive, they own Sutter Health Park. There's zero rent right now. There's probably some type of payment and mortgage, but there's no additional rent. The Coliseum made that offer to the A's to rent the stadium out for $20 million a year for 25, 26, and 27. And so even if the Coliseum came back to the River Cats at like the $1 million they used to charge the A's, which I don't think they would do, it would have to be higher. That's still way too much money for the Sacramento River Cats to incur that additional cost. Now, if the River Cats were being paid off $20 million a year to go down the road, maybe $1 million or $2 million for rent isn't the biggest deal. But I don't know that somebody's going to pay them to vacate Sacramento. I just, again, a lot of deals to be made here. I don't know if that's one of them. The Coliseum, again, is also a problem. It seats 50,000. That's way too big for minor league baseball, but it's also aging. It's also way past its expiration date. And this is not a long-term solution. Okay, great. You move the River Cats to Oakland. And do Oaklanders even want this? We'll get to that in just a second, too. This is not a long-term solution. This is like, now we've got a AAA team playing in a ballpark that is probably not getting taken care of even more now. I just don't think that's a long-term fit for anybody. Now, this would be, if temporarily, I'm not going to lie, for a couple years, if there were events and there would be jobs and revenue created for people that live in and around Oakland, this, in some ways, good for the town. But I also think, let's be very fair and bring them up too here in this picture, This would also largely take away from what the Oakland Ballers started about a year ago, did last baseball season. This is direct competition for the Oakland Ballers. The Oakland A's were not, because the Ballers were kind of the alternative to the A's, but to put a minor league team like this in Oakland, and I think people that are going to go to the Ballers, they're still going to do that anyway, but this would directly compete with something else that Oakland has already started and turned the wheels on already. And so there's also this at the very end. I mean, do Oaklanders even want this? I say here a diss track. I mean, this is like professional baseball working it out to say, Oakland, you're now a minor league city. Sacramento, you get the major league team. And by no fault of Oakland fans here, this is the way the business side of it decided to work out. Would fans of Oakland baseball either embrace or even support hosting a minor league team shortly after the major league team left? I think there's a lot of feelings about that. I think there's a lot of no's, to be quite honest with you, about the answer to that question. We'll see, though. Let me close out here with some of my final thoughts here and just realities of all this. Like, we've discussed a lot of different things. So realities are this. Number one, I think there's some slim chances of this ever happening. However, I mean, I can't even come on here anymore and make a video to say this will never happen. I can't. I can't say this will never happen. I think it's a very slim chance that something like this does. It's a certain possibility. It's not 0%. It's not even 50-50, but it's not 0% either. Nothing would surprise me anymore in the way this is all played out. I also think that as much as we talk about the River Cats moving to Oakland because it's certainly a viable market, there's a lot of people, they could do that flip because it's something that's enticing. I guess the River Cats could move somewhere else in the state too. Build a small 10,000-seat ballpark in wherever, maybe somewhere down the Central Valley of California, maybe along the coast. I guess the River Cats could move elsewhere in the state. How about the North Bay? How about Sonoma, Santa Rosa? I don't know. I don't know if that's the same viability of the Sacramento market. In fact, I know it's not. But the River Cats could do something somewhere else too. So saying that the River Cats are going to come to Oakland, I think super slim. Saying that the River Cats might go somewhere else if the A's were to permanently stay, or it looks like they would, maybe more of a possibility. And the last thing here is I never mean to talk bad about Sacramento, certainly never talk down to Sacramento. They're part of Northern California the way I see it. But none of this adds up, right? Go in reverse 5-10 years and say, well, the AAA team and the Major League team, they switch towns. What? Why? These market-wise and resource-wise, these places are just not the same. And that's not a knock. Sacramento is a pro town. Sacramento could support, largely, if done the right way, professional sports of a lot of varieties. Probably Major League Baseball. They've been fighting for that for years. But I'm just saying the way this has all played out and the flip-flop with that, something just does not add up in that equation. So, are the Sacramento River Cats coming to Oakland? Probably not. But here in November of 2024, I can't make you any certainties anymore. That's the end of this video. Thank you for making it to the end. Thumbs up down below. That greatly helps me and this channel and this video. And real quick, before it's over, go down there and make sure that you are already subscribed to this channel. I would appreciate that because it means I'll get to see you back here next time.